called Corey Barker Project. This is a class, it's a project I do in my advanced Photoshop class, so welcome everybody. It's a fun little project, and it's sort of our Kickstart project, our day one boot camp of Photoshop 2 or advanced Photoshop. So let's get started. Enough of that deal. Let's look at our image. We are working on a canvas size that is in inches. Let me put my inches up there. 7 inches wide by 12 inches high at 100 dpi. Really simple. And I'm going to close that. And right now I just have a black background, and we're going to build this nice little web ad. It's a little Adidas web ad. So we need some graphics, and I have, if I go to the proper folder, I have this grass, this sort of football field image, mowed lawn. You see it in baseball fields and whatnot. And we're going to start with this, and I am going to turn on my hotkey commands so you can see at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to turn off the left and right clicks though, because I don't care about those. But when I press a button at the bottom of the screen, or when I press my keyboard button, you'll see it down here at the bottom. All right, so we have our grass here. Don't need that. Thank you very much. And I'm going to hold down my Shift key and drag it across to my document. Close this. I don't need it anymore. Obviously, it's too big for our document. It's of higher res, so we're going to need to free transform this and scale it down. So I'm going to do Command T. You can see right there at the bottom of the screen, Command T. And then I'm going to do Command O to zoom extend, since this document is so big, or since this image is so big. And I'm going to hold down my Shift and Alt key, and make sure you're holding down Shift and Alt, and I'm going to scale this down a bit. Probably, and move it to maybe the sort of lower third of this image here. Maybe right about there. Let's try that. That'll work. So I want it about the bottom third of my image. That's the space bar. That's why you're seeing nothing there. All right, so we got to get rid of this hard edge. We got to lighten it up a little bit. It's a little bit too hard. So we're going to put a layer mask on this layer. In fact, I'm going to call this layer grass real quick. And we're going to apply a layer mask. I'm going to click this little button down here on the bottom. Third one from the left. It's a square with a circle in it. I'm going to click that, and it adds my layer mask right here on my layer. Now with the gradient tool, make sure you have black as your foreground color. I do, but if you don't, you can hit D or X to reset it and make sure black is your foreground color, and it is. And if I hit G, I'm going to go to the gradient tool, and we're going to use the second one up here, gradient to transparent. So black to transparent is what we want. Whoa, sorry about that. All right, so black to transparent on the gradient tool, and we're just going to drag down from sort of the very top of that grass down a little bit. And I'm going to hold my Shift key and just drag down a little bit until I get rid of the back of that grass line. So now I got a sort of invisible horizon, and that's what the mask right there on the layer is performing. All right, so we need a product. So let's open up our product, and I am going to use this shoe that I have. Yeah, let's use that one. Why not? And it's just a photograph of a shoe. It's on one layer, and we need to get the shoe separated. And since it's on a white background, we can just use the magic wand tool. If you hit W, or you go over here and hold down your mouse button, and you can find the magic wand tool. And now that we have that selected, make sure contiguous is checked. And I'm going to click anywhere on the white area around the shoe, and it is going to select the entire white. But we don't want the white, we want the actual shoe itself. So we need to invert the selection. Basically, let's tell Photoshop, select the opposite of what I have selected. And there's a couple ways you can do it. You can go to Select and hit Inverse, it's the fourth one down. Or you can hit Command-Shift-I, which is the hotkey for that, which is what I just did. And it now has the shoe selected, which is what we want. So let's get that shoe on its own layer. The best way to do that, the easiest way to do it is hit Command-J. Command-J is copy via layer. So if you hold down Command and hit J, it's going to copy your shoe, your selection, in this case the shoe, to a brand new layer, minus the background, and there it is. It's pretty clean too. Let's drag that shoe over to our working document. I'm going to hold down my Shift key again and drag my shoe over. It's going to be large again, just like the other one was. And there it is. So we're going to have to free transform again, Command T, and we're going to free transform this shoe down. And I'm going to keep it pretty large. I'm going to turn the toe down just a bit and maybe sort of sandwich it somewhere inside of there. Not bad. I'm going to commit to that. I'm just going to hit return. And that's not bad. As you can see, we got a little white fringing around the shoe there, just a little bit. If you go to layers and at the very bottom, hit matting and hit remove white matte, it'll get rid of all that white edging for you. There you go. Not too bad. I'm going to get rid of my shoe. I don't need that anymore. We need to put a shadow. I'm going to name that layer shoe. And in between the shoe and the grass, let's start a new layer, and we're going to call this shadow. New layer button's down here on the layer palette next to the garbage can. You can click that, or you can go up to layer and hit new layer. It's at the very top. Anyway, so we'll call this shadow. Can't type. There we go, shadow. So let's make our shadow. I'm going to use the ellipse tool up here, second one down here. Makes a circle basically, but we're going to make an ellipse. And I'm just going to drag left to right, sort of make a very, very flat circle. I'm going to try to stay in line with the shoe. So I have a nice little selection there. And I just reset my colors, so I hit D. And I'm going to fill that selection on my layer called shadow with black. There's a couple ways to do this. You can go to fill in the edit command and fill with black right there. You can hit shift delete and bring up the same palette again, the same command box. In this case, white is my foreground color, so I can hit alt delete and that will fill it as well. If I hit alt white, it'll fill it with the background color, in this case white. So you can see how that works. But alt delete will fill foreground color always, no matter what your foreground color is. So I'm going to do that, alt, holding down alt and hitting delete. And there you go. We have our shadow. It's a little hard though. Command D will deselect your, you lose the marching ants. It's a little hard, so let's blur it. Gaussian blur. Let's go to the filters, blur, Gaussian blur. Yeah, we could do 15. Let's do 15. That's not too bad. And let me just kind of thin this out just a little bit more. It's a little bit too thick. Put it under the shoe a little bit more. Somewhere around right there. That's not too bad. All right. Believe it or not, we're close to done. This isn't too bad. I'm going to move my shoe just a little bit more, maybe right around there. The shadow a little bit more centered. The shoe in there a little bit more centered. There we go. Just looking for some continuity. Not too bad. All right. Now we need to make some lights. We need to sort of backlight this thing. On a new layer above your grass, I'm going to click the new layer button there again, and I'm just going to call this lights. Ooh, I'm just going to call this can't type today, lights. And back to my marquee tool, this guy right here. And this time I'm going to hold down shift so I create a perfect circle. And I'm going to make it a little bit large. We're going to make sort of a candlelight box. I'm going to turn off the shoe so we can see what I'm doing here. So I just made a marquee, holding down shift with the marquee tool, the round, the circle, the ellipse marquee. I'm just going to drag it out right there. And this time I'm going to fill it with white. So since white is my background color, I'm going to hit Command Delete, and that will fill it with white, since white is my background color. Or again, if you want, you can go to Fill, or you can hit Shift Delete and get the Fill dialog box. Either way will get you there. Now I don't exactly remember the settings I used, so let's go check out our screen settings. And what do we got here? That's not it. Let's go here. All right, so our screen settings, you can hide. I don't need you. Where'd my screen setting go? There we go. Lose that guy right there. That's right. Okay, get back to my screen settings again. All right, so we're going to use these. We're going to use an outer bevel. We're just going to put a nice bevel on it on the bottom and make things look 107. All right, I got what's going on here. Oh, there it is right there. All right, so 107. Don't worry about this guy right here. We don't need him. Or do we need him? Maybe we do need him. Perhaps we do. Let's see again. Yeah, we do need him. All right, I'm going to move you out of the way then. All right, so we're going to use these style settings on our layer styles to make our light. So let's start with bevel. So if you double click the layers area right over here in this sort of gray area, you're going to get the layer dialog box. And the first thing we're going to do is click on bevel. Now we want an outer bevel, right? 1,000 seems high. How about maybe 100? Let's try 100-ish. and then size 7, right? We're going to keep it kind of tight. This is going to be 90. Our angle is going to be 90. Our altitude will be 90. We're going to change our gloss contour to the second one on the bottom row, second one from the left. It's called Ring. That's the one we're going to use. We don't need shadows at all, so we can just slide that opacity slider to 0. And this one, and our highlights are going to be sort of blue. So I'm going to click the color window here, and I'm just going to select some sort of blue. I'm not real specific. I'm just some sort of light blue. And just so I make sure I know what I'm doing, 90, 30. That altitude might be a little high. Let's try, let's try 30, see what happens. Might be. There we go. That's a little bit better. I get that little blue glow around it. That's kind of cool. Make sure I got all my settings. 100, 7, 80. That's a little hot. Let's turn this down just a little bit. Let's say 80 is probably a good way to go. I don't know if we need that, but why not? All right, so outer bevel, we got set to smooth as our technique. 100 is our depth, although we could probably go a little bit deeper. 7 is our size, which is good. Soften is set to 0, angle 90, altitude 30. Ring for our gloss contour, and screen set to 80. There we go. That's not too bad. All right. Next one we're going to do is outer glow. So click the outer glow tab there and turn that on. And we're going to set the blend mode on that to screen. We definitely want that set to screen. And we're going to pick something that's not as horrendous looking as that. We're going to pick sort of almost a cream, almost white, yellow. It's kind of in here at the top in the color picker. Somewhere in there a little bit. And we're going to crank the size up. Let's find out what we cranked up the size to. We cranked up, it's opacity 70, size 98. All right, so opacity, what did I say the opacity was? 70, sorry. 70, you can see the glow already happening. And size 98, 100, let's just say 100. Let's just call it even. And there we go. We have our nice little, what we would call a candlelight back in the day. And that's all we need to build our light. So we can click OK now. And we're just going to use those 2 layer styles. I'm going to get rid of that. Don't need that anymore. Don't need that. All right, so we have our light now. And if I turn my shoe back on, you can kind of see what's happening in the background. But we need more than one light. I want 6 lights. I'm going to scale this down just a smidge. There we go. Let's try that. So I'm going to turn my shoe off again just so you can see what's going on here. There we go. I need 6 lights. So here's what I'm going to do. With my light layer selected, I'm going to hold down my Alt key. Hold it down, and you can see you'll get the double arrows when you do that. And I'm going to click inside here and drag to the right. And if I hold down my Shift key too, it'll constrain it and slide it perfectly right. And I'm just going to slag over a full copy. Now it will make another layer. When I let go of all this, a new layer will appear, and there it is. Lights copy. Let's make one more. Hold down the Alt key again. Click on your light there and drag it to the right, holding down your Shift key, and there you go. Perfectly matched. Awesome. Now you do have 3 layers over here total now, right? So why don't we group those layers? We could smash them together, but in this case, let's group them together. I'm going to select all 3 layers. If you hold down your Shift key, you can just select all of them and hit Command G. And that will put them inside a folder in your layers palette, and it makes it a little bit easier to manage. All right? And since they're in there, let's select them again. All 3 layers, all 3 light layers, the 1, 2, 3. All right, let's select all 3 layers and hit Command E. This will smash the layers together into one layer. So now we have one layer again. Let's do that again. 3 layers, Command E, everything's on one layer now. All right, I don't mind that they're off screen a little bit. I actually kind of like that. All right, I need 6 lights, so let's copy this layer. Command J copies the layer, puts it on a brand new layer, and with our move tool, we can now just move that up a little bit. And there we go. We have nice 6 lights, some field lights. And we're almost done. All right, I'm going to turn my shoe back on. That's looking pretty good. We need some trade dress. Let's do a little trade dress. So I'm going to go File, Open. These are all files I gave you. And I have this Adidas logo, but the problem is that it's black, and I need it to be white. If I lay black over that, it's just going to fall apart. Let me separate these little for you so you can see them. There we go. If I put black on that, it's really sort of going to die a slow death. It's not going to read very well. So let's invert this. Command I will invert black to white. Look at that. Command I. Perfect. Now let's drag it over. It's going to be big again, so let's free transform it. Right? Command 0 is zoom extents when you have free transform mode like that. And I'm just going to scale it down, holding down Shift and Alt, by the way. Holding down Shift and Alt. And I'm just going to put this in the corner and build this nice, cool little ad. I'm going to close that. I don't need that anymore. Let's offset this this trademark a little bit. It's a little bit flat. I'm going to double click on it so I get the layer styles, and we're going to put an outer glow on it, a very soft black outer glow. So pick your color right there and grab a black. Okay. Set your blend mode to multiply. Ooh, it's already pretty good. It's a little bit much though, and I'm going to bring the size down to 68, and I'm just going to wing this a little bit, maybe 58 for the opacity. Make it light. I don't want it too brazen, and that's good. Not too bad. One last thing I want to do. This shoe is a bit overlit. It's a little bit washed in some areas, so I kind of want to tone it down a bit. So go to your shoe layer, that guy right there, and hit Command J. We're going to make a copy of it. Command J. So now we have two shoe layers. I have one sitting on top of the other. On that new copy layer, let's change the blend mode to multiply, and watch what happens. It'll darken up. Let me zoom in just a little bit. And when I hit multiply in the blend mode, it will darken this layer up, this shoe up quite a bit. And it's a little bit too dark. I'm going to back it. I'm going to turn the opacity down just a little bit, help it out. But for the most part, it looks a lot better than it did before. It's not as washed out as it was. And there you go. That's sort of our little sports ad. We did a couple more things in class, but for the gist, for the most part, this is kind of how I built this ad, and this is kind of the gist on how to do it. All right, everybody. I hope you had a good time. See you next week, and thanks everybody for watching. Have a good day.